All right, guys, welcome to part 2 of the customizing your end annotation on your YouTube videos. Okay, so this is my first time doing a tutorial. I'm going to consider part 1 kind of a foundation of the concept of at least making these go around in a circle, okay? But what we're going to do now is get a mouth that we record on a separate video to stick to this mouth and make it look like they are talking or singing, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these, okay? We're going to start fresh for a second. And we're not going to take a lengthy time to do what we did before, but what we're going to do is I've got 2 things, okay? I've got my face in my project window, and I've also got a video. Let me double click it and show you that I recorded with my front facing camera on my iPhone of me lip syncing the song in my outro, okay? I'm holding it as still as I can. It probably would have been better if I just like sat it down. But still your head's going to move around a little bit at that point. So the concept is going to be the same. So what we want to do is just stabilize it the best we can. And we're just nitpicking with that because if even the mouth is moving around a little bit, you're going to see it if it's stuck on something that's not moving at all. And it's just not going to look like it's supposed to be there. So we're going to take our face. We're going to drag that into our project. We're going to use that in just a second. We're also going to take our video and drag that into the project. Now, the one thing that we're not going to do at this point is syncing it up with the audio, okay? If you have an audio file in here, you're going to have to drag your video to where it starts. So if this, say, right here was where I started talking and the audio file started talking, you know, and then you'd have to scrub and check, you know, hit your preview key to make sure that it's talking with the audio. And I think the default preview key is 0. If you're not in the know with that. Okay, so we're gonna put this back, and I'm gonna hit, I have my timeline cursor at the beginning. I'm gonna hit left bracket while this layer is selected, and it'll bring it to the beginning there. So left bracket. What we need to do first is we need to track while my dog dies behind me. So if you don't already have a tracker window down here, you can go up to window and click tracker, and then in here we're going to stabilize motion, and we should have had our layer selected, the one that we're going to take the mouth off of, and it should say motion source and our video is selected. Current track, this is our first track we're doing on this layer, so it's tracker 1. Track type should already be stabilized if we've clicked stabilize motion. There's not a bunch of scaling and rotation happening on this track, so we're just worried about position, and that's the default right now. So now what we have to do is up in here we have to select a point on our face and track that point, and it's got to have a little bit of contrast to it. So if you use control plus or minus, you can go in and out. If you hold spacebar, you can get the pan tool and use your mouse to click and drag, and that's when you hold the spacebar. We need to take this point, and you have 2 squares, okay? And what we need to do is, and when you move, you got this cursor icon. We want to move it over, that's pretty contrasty to me, something that it could follow pretty easily. You want to keep this smaller square kind of around the exact thing you're wanting to track. And then this just kind of can help the surrounding areas and help it track as well. Not too much, because you're going to get some other movement. So that's kind of about how I want it. Down back here in your tracker window and your options, we're going to turn on track fields down here. I typically like to do that. It tracks more pixels inside the square. It takes a little bit longer, but it's not too much, especially if your clip is short like this one. This one's only about 25 seconds long. And then what we're going to do at this point, we're starting at the beginning. That's where our cursor is. In this analyze, we're going to hit the analyze forward button. And what it's going to do, it's going to go through each frame and keyframe that position. Okay. And see, at the beginning of my video, I kind of looked around for a second. I don't know what I was looking at. I think maybe I was looking at my phone or my computer screen. But anyway, it still was able to match it. But if you have a lot of blurry motion, like more motion than that just then, it's probably going to have a hard time tracking. And you will see this square will like start moving around and not be able to follow what you're tracking. And if that's the case, you either need to re-record and not have as much movement, or you need to find something that has more contrast and has something that it can follow. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip ahead. It's going to go all the way through and create a bunch of keyframes. Okay, what I'm going to do, okay, so that's where I start talking. Okay, so I don't do this, but I'm going to hit stop. You know, you keep tracking all the way through, and I'm going to show you this. Okay, so this is what you will have after you're done tracking. Okay, you'll see your track here, and then you'll see a bunch of keyframes. They're all bunched together, so it's a little blob there. If we open up our video layer, twirl it down, we'll see that we have a motion tracker, and then inside of our transform and the motion tracker, we have a bunch of keyframes in here. Okay, and you don't need to worry about any of these. Okay, this is just how the motion tracker works. And more advanced things, you can use these to your advantage. For this, we don't need to worry about it. So you have all your tracking points. What we're gonna do is over in your tracker window, so we're on stabilize, we're going to edit the target. Our target's going to be the same video because we are stabilizing. Okay, we're going to apply X and Y. Okay, now back in this composition, we've got what we added, our face and the video, and it'll look different because this is actually what we did a second ago, but that's fine. We have all of our other stuff in this one, but I'm just showing you. So now if we were to play this, you can see that it's keeping pretty still right here. Okay, you can see where the layer's moving back and forth. Okay, so then what we want to do, and mine's already set here, but we want to set our anchor point to right on the mouth because it just makes it easier for us later. And the easiest way to do that is up here. We can use the pan behind tool, or you can hit Y on your keyboard. Make sure we have our video selected, and yours will probably be in the center somewhere, wherever the center is, but we're going to move it to the mouth. And then what we want to do is we're going to rotoscope out our mouth here. Still, we have this layer selected. We're going to select the pen tool up here, and we're going to make sure we have Roto Bezier select. And then we're going to start making points and draw kind of a rough area. And I leave some space down here because the mouth opens. We don't want that to disappear. Okay, so now we have a rough looking mouth, and it looks very silly right now already. But what we want to do is kind of clean this up so that it's not a hard edge, and it doesn't really match or anything like that. So having that same layer selected, we're going to hit M, which will open up our masks. We're going to, this is already twirled open, but we're going to close it and reopen it because there's some other stuff missing here. We're going to change the feathering a little bit, which is going to soften the edge. I think I had mine at like 30 or 40 or something like that. We'll do 36. And then the expansion, I'm going to bring it in. So not too far out, right? Because then you'll show too much of your layer. But if you bring it in enough, now it has a little bit more of a blend to it, okay? And you can even reposition this a little bit if you want. And that was using the just the selection tool. For those of you who don't mind getting a little more detailed, you can go into your effects and presets, and we're going to do a little bit of a curves adjustment, and you can just type in curves here, drag curves over to your video here, and you get used to this when you see it enough. But when I'm looking at this, the mouth video is a little bit more warmer than my face. It's got a little bit more of a red to it. So up here on the curves, oh, I'll delete this. Oh, I had one on there. Sorry. Okay. So this is the original color. So still, it looks like it has a little bit more red to it. So on our curves, we can change the channel to red, and we can drag down a little bit. Let's do up here. Drag down a little bit. Get rid of that center one. Okay. So it's getting closer. It looks a little green. So we're going with the green. We'll drag that down a little bit. Okay, that's looking pretty close. I'm going to change it to RGB to do all the colors, so we can just change the overall color. Still a little bit red. That's pretty darn close if you ask me. I'm sure we could get it closer, but if this effects button here, we can see the difference. There's the original and there's after we did the curves adjustment. Now, at the beginning of that, I didn't track, and that's what you're seeing there. It's moving around because I purposely did not track the beginning because I didn't want to, but then boom, the track sets in. And now you're seeing the mouth is staying pretty close to where it's supposed to be. And that's pretty silly looking. Now, you might see a little bit of movement every once in a while, but you're not going to notice that when the face is a little bit smaller and it's going around in a circle, okay? So so now we have our two faces, and actually I'm going to, don't do this, but this is going to make it easier for you. We're going to pretend like these two items turned into these two items. Okay, and what's going to happen here is the one thing that I probably missed is that this is actually like huge, like that. So what you'll have to do is on that video layer, go to your scale. If you hit S and scale it down to where you need it. Okay. Okay. And we're doing control minus and plus right there to go in and out again. Okay. So now we want these two things to be together. So we want to pre-compose. So you want to select both of them, pre-compose. We'll call this face. Perfect. And our anchor point is, I just want to center it there. So we want to scale the face layer we just made, scale it down to where it's inside that circle. And now from this point, this is where you would want to animate like we did in part 1. Okay. This is where you would want to animate your anchor point out. And then do your rotation as well. Rotate, go to the end, rotate 4 times. And if it's hidden behind the layer, which it'll look like because that's actually the subscribe button. Ooh. And then you have a very scary looking talking face. Gosh, that's creepy. I'm not gonna lie. But then go through and then, you know, make your duplications, rotate them 90, 180, 270, and then take all those, pre-compose them, duplicate that, make it 45 degrees, just like in part 1, and then you'll have multiple faces going around in a circle, okay? Let's see. And that's pretty much it. If something was super confusing with that, feel free to let me know, and I will do my best to explain it in the comments. Or if you want, I can do a separate tutorial on just like the motion tracking part. And I can even do one where I have a moving face. and we track something to that, even with some rotation, like a more in-depth motion tracking tutorial. But anyway, hopefully that gets you where you want to go, and you can always play with all of this and do, you know, different things to make it customizable for what you're looking for. So all right guys, I'm going to consider that the end, but again, if you want something more in-depth, just let me know in the comments. All right, have a good one, guys.
Click the like and subscribe. Click the like and subscribe. You know what to do.